In the next few minutes, you're going to discover the 7 jobs that will only be remaining after AI. I'm going to show you a game plan on how to utilize those jobs, how to thrive with them in an AI world, and ultimately how to prepare for what's coming. Because let's be honest, we've never experienced something like this ever in history. So preparing is going to be key. Before that, it's important to note one thing. One skill you have to develop is ultimately flexibility. Things are going to change rapidly. You're going to grab one skill, you're going to learn something, and then it's not going to be needed because AI is going to take it over. Whether currently in the automation space, if you're developing a lot of automations and systems, you're going to learn potentially coding, engineering, and a lot of that will become obsolete with AI. So having a fresh and obviously having a flexible mindset, a growth mindset, and realizing that it's a shift, not the end, I think is one of the biggest things that number one you can kind of lead off with. All right, because AI rewires who captures value. It's a leverage play. And demand concentrates into roles with AI leverage, ultimately also and or protected by trust, taste, and touch, which we're going to talk about here shortly. Also, we're going to talk about the 7 job families, like I alluded to earlier. Plus, I'm going to give you some action plans on how to start today so that you can be rewarded for it tomorrow or in the near future. So, the 7 jobs that win in an AI world that's going to be here within the next few years: builders, wranglers, sense makers, trust and taste, relationship and revenue, care and service, real world builders. And I'm going to break these down for you in a sec here. Ultimately, as well, plus governance layer and entrepreneurs who integrate, which are many of you, and it's about integration and utilizing these systems. I do think AI is going to take your job over. However, right now, currently, whoever's going to take your job or at least take more market share is going to be someone using AI at this point in time. So let's kind of break down first what these 7 jobs are, what it means, and what it looks like. So, families 1 and 2, builders and wranglers. These are all kind of different. Everyone has a unique personality, so which one kind of suits you, lean into that one. So let's start with the AI builders. Roles right now are model engineers, data engineers, inference optimization, AI product managers. Why? Because compounding moats. You have to realize that everyone's trying to chase a moat right now. And a lot of it was attention. However, that's severely decreasing because right now Sora 2 is kind of dominating that. So there needs to be moats. Personal brand is a big moat. However, with a lot of AI and deepfakes, that might disappear. Or there has to be a verification process. However, compounding moats for model quality, data pipelines, and infrastructure cost control are going to be super important. Number one, data. All right, so these models need to learn on some type of data, and there's just becoming not enough of it because they're learning at such a rapid pace that we're just feeding it all this data, and there's just not enough. It sounds crazy, but there's just not enough data to go around. Right, so like I don't know if AI is going to start developing its own data, but there's only so much in human history that we have created. And now finally, we're starting to realize we have an energy problem and a data problem. All right, we'll talk about the energy issue in a bit here. But that's why your AI builders are going to become important. It's basically like your mechanic with a car. You're going to become a mechanic with the models, the products, the engineers, all that type of stuff. And it's because those aspects are very important. So, like I said, flexibility, flexible mindset. So right now, you're probably going to want to start learning some coding, learn Python, SQL, vectors, cloud costs, and you probably want to start getting hands-on with this product or this type of route. So start learning NAN, start learning make.com. No code solutions that'll actually help you build products. So right now, it's like Cursor, Replit, Lovable are some great tools to help you actually build out real use cases for this product. Now again, you have to realize that in a few months' time, You're not going to need these types of tools. Automation has been around for a very long time, and it's about time, to be quite frank, that we kind of step away from it because it's really not that effective. Yes, sure, it can be very efficient when you're building all these things out, but eventually you're just going to be voice commanding these models to build you something. All right. Now, let's talk about the AI wranglers. Prompt designers, prompt engineers are going to be huge. So understanding how to communicate with these models is going to be big, right? That's why if you kind of the prompt dictates the prompt dictates what you prompt these models, kind of dictates the output, right? So understanding how to do prompts, and as that evolves, understanding what that is. Your workflow architects, right? So understanding how pieces flow together with models and other aspects. Automation engineers, like I alluded to before, but however, that's vastly going to change. And all these roles will look a lot different, but this is kind of the core. And then obviously agent orchestrators, right? So kind of being managers to a bunch of AI agents and understanding how each one does what, and then kind of corresponding that to ultimately have a job fulfilled. Okay, why is this so important? They turn messy business obviously into repeatable machines, which is huge, which is kind of what every business owner wants, but they're just going to become more useful. So understanding one, kind of the overarching umbrella is if AI becomes big, okay, so what are kind of the solution problems going to come out of AI? And these are obviously some of them. The next steps for this is map one process, right? Replace 3 steps with RPA or LLM chain and understanding how that all works. All right, moving on. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. So if you're like, that's not really, doesn't really sound like me, right? I don't really like to build. I don't really like to lead. Maybe these might be more for you. So families 3 and 4, sense makers and trust. Now you hear a lot about this, specifically obviously trust and taste creators, but your sense makers, these are analysts, researchers, editors, curators, evaluators, and red teamers. Okay, so like I said before, judgment and verification specifically are going to become very, very important. So whether you're going to build out an agent and they're going to verify it for you, or having someone in the loop that's constantly verifying if this is true or not. Remember, we have a data problem. So who's going to create more data? Who's going to create more information? Because these models need to learn. It's like basically having food, right? So if there's no food to eat, then what do? Right? So all these LLMs and all these AIs are consuming, and now we're actually running out of things for it to consume. So you're going to need kind of a judgment, right? You're going to need something, and then you're going to need something to verify and audit whether these things are right. That's why there's a huge use case for the blockchain right now, because you're going to need you're going to need some system that's going to verify these things. Okay, so step for this is build a personal evaluation rubric, accuracy, speed, cost, and risk. Understanding how that all kind of works for society's benefit. Okay, now trust and taste creators is kind of your personal brand. This is your creative directors, your storytellers, your designers, brand and community strategists. Right. This is why is this so important? Because taste. Right. Currently, right now, like your art niche, it's very niched. However, some people still like buying art and putting it on their wall. That's kind of taste. So taste is going to become more important as kind of the quote unquote AI slop starts taking over. So you have taste, you have narrative, you have identity signals, which are hard to automate, right? So that's kind of the personal brand. It's just, yes, I can obviously put out a deep fake, but you still want to hear from the individual. That's why somewhat, one-to-one will become more important as we start to go away from one-to-one because there's so much noise. You're going to want actually the human touch, the human feel, and that friendship and that just one-to-one interaction with a human, right? So that's kind of this. Now, how to go about that is create a signature style pack. That's how you create your personal brand, start creating stuff that's unique to you, that you like to do, and just start producing that. Your fonts, your colors, your framing, your repeatable story, how people resonate with you, so that you can create a personal brand and you don't basically become commoditized in a creator economy, especially when you're fighting against AI avatars. All right. So that's how you can win that way. Now, kind of lastly, families 5 and 7, relationships, care, and real world. So relationships and revenue, roles, sellers, account managers, negotiators, partnerships, and customer success. Now, at a granular level, AI is going to do this for you. But this applies for more if you're in an advanced level. Again, people are going to want the one-to-one touch, one-to-one feel, one-to-one aspect. So when you're, for your sellers, sure, AI can do that right now. Not that great, but eventually they will. You know, selling or cold calling to the mass market, AI is going to be able to do that. But if you're high ticket and, you know, you're actually maybe potentially flying places to have these meetings, to take these roles, or to take you know, potentially selling your services, then that becomes more important. And that's going to be you're going to pay a massive premium for that type of service. Your account managers, your negotiators, your partnerships, and your customer success. Right? Why? Because asymmetric value of trust and live problem solving is massive. Okay, so how to do this is build an AI assistant sales workflow that does your research, outreach, develops specific kits and follow-ups. All right. And again, a lot of this will be automated with AI, but the higher up you go, the more important this communication is going to be. Okay, now let's talk about care and service. So if you're not kind of extrovert and you're like, not really for me, maybe the care and service aspect is you're a bit more empathetic. Nurses, therapists, coaches, teachers, elder care, and child care. Now, yes, again, AI is going to take this over. Okay? But why is this so important? Because again, one-on-one communication is going to be massive, and empathy and hands-on care augmented by AI is going to become more important. So sure, we're going to be using AI for these systems, but we're still going to maybe have a therapist in the loop, a teacher, a coach in the loop, or you're going to want to talk to kind of the guru or the individual that you've been learning from. And again, you're going to pay a steep premium to get that type of service. And yes, I think it's going to be augmented by AI, of course, because that's customer success, and we're going to still want that at a high level. What are we going to do? We're going to pair authentic practice with AI for documentation. We're going to do some scheduling, and we're going to lesson planning so that we can provide ultimate customer service. Now, if that doesn't sound like you either, you may be a real world builder. Electricians, plumbers, HVAC, robotic techs, which are going to be massive, field service, and advanced manufacturing. Now, like I said, a lot of people, like mechanics working on cars, you're going to be robot mechanics, robotic techs, okay? That's going to become a massive new field, understanding the robotics, understanding how these things work and kind of interact with the real world. Your electricians and plumbers are not going to be yet taken over by AI. That's a great field to go into currently. Sure, you're going to start having maybe robotics in the future, but it's still very much in demand as we speak. Now, what are we going to do? Why is this so important? Because atoms are stubborn, right? And we need, yes, obviously the help of AI, but the help of humans as well. AI boosts dispatch, which again, customer service, diagnostics, and quality control. That's why it's so important. Specifically with robots, right? There's a lot of companies out here that are trying to put a robot in each house. Imagine that. Imagine the demand, just like cars again. Every kind of household has a car. So imagine that. You're going to have robot mechanics because it's going to be that big of an industry. What are we going to do? We're going to stack certifications. You're going to keep learning about robotics, keep learning about specific use cases and how to really go in and dive deep into that. If you're more hands-on, this is perfect for you. And add AI maintenance diagnostics too. So start learning about AI as you go. Start learning about systems. Start learning about all that good stuff that will help you in a role like this. Okay? Now we're almost done here. Now, this is something important to mention. So the governance layer and integrations. So there's an aspect of risk, safety, and governance. Now this is kind of a plus as well. So cybersecurity and AI safety, compliance, policy, privacy, and model risk is going to be massive. So right now, there's a lot of people kind of whistleblowing that AI is not safe. Um, there's no really guardrails in place to kind of mitigate what this thing could do. It's kind of like a black box or Pandora's box. We have no idea what it's going to create, what type of hallucinogens it's going to, what type of, like how it's going to hallucinate. We have no idea, none of that, because again, we've never experienced something like this before. So, it's very important. And this is going to be a massive industry as well, just like it currently is. Safety, privacy, it's very important. It's going to become more important with AI. And again, the notion of validation, like that's going to be big, and that's going to be, that comes kind of into the risk, safety, and privacy aspect of things. What are we going to do? We're going to learn threat modeling, basic governance framework, and you can kind of draft one for your team and start learning like that. Really that simple. Then we have entrepreneurs and integrators. Entrepreneurs are probably going to increase even more because now we can just use these systems. We're going to have like one person teams, so it's going to be you and your agents. However, SaaS is obviously changing with softwares like Replit, Lovable, Cursor. So it's going to be niche SaaS, or you're actually just going to bring your tool you made, your SaaS you made, actually into your company, just use it internally. There's going to be agencies, educators, productized services, and local modernizers. That's going to become more important. Now, agencies are going to look a little different, right? So that wherever the use case is, you can build an agency there. Educators are still going to be important. Yes, you're probably going to be learning from AI teachers, but you're also going to be potentially learning from AI humans. So, the step here would be find one painful workflow, as anyone would, deliver a paid pilot in about 30 days using, potentially the niche SaaS or building an agency around that, or just becoming an educator in that field. Okay. Now, so what are we going to do? So I would advise you to do this today. How do you take advantage of these 7 roles, and how do you really, because you got to realize no one yet is a educator in this space. Yes, there's a few popping up now, but we're all students right now because it's such an infant market at the moment. So everyone's still learning. So what can you do? You can add one leverage skill. Okay, start small. Pick one of these jobs. Pick one of these roles that you resonated with the most, that works with your personality. If not, go take a personality test and then come back. So add one leverage skill, whether that's the automation. Automation right now is very big. It's very common, and it's actually very efficient if done right for your everyday tasks. Or it could be modeling or valuation. Add one trust moment. So live problem solving with customers or team. Okay. Again, the one-to-one has become massive. It's going to become more important. That's why personal brand right now is kind of in the limelight at the moment. And then document risk in metrics. You want to start collecting data, to start collecting information on these things that you're doing. You want to have fallbacks, success criteria, and review cadence. Okay, so this is kind of your action checklist for this week. Pick one workflow, automate something, 3 steps, end to end. Make it small, but complete it. Very important, complete the thing. Draft a 1-page AI policy for your team. Let them start utilizing it, understanding what this means. And then obviously identify one paid pilot opportunity for you to start actually getting your hands dirty and start building this thing out and going to market with it. All right? It's kind of that simple. But those are the jobs, the only jobs that will be left. All right, so hopefully that helps. Thank you for listening. Take care, and I will speak to you tomorrow.